Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're taking a look here at the Premium Bandai Master Grade Riga Z Custom. So like with the recently released Master Grade Premium Bandai Dwaj that we took a look at, this is sort of similar to that in that it's sort of like a 1.5 version of the Master Grade. Wouldn't really call it a full 2.0. It's still using a good amount of parts from the original old 1.0, and it doesn't feel like you're building like a new, like recent Master Grade, but it definitely does feel updated. It doesn't feel as old as the original kit is, so that's good. It's definitely a really big improvement over the original. I will admit, I've never built the original, but I know it's notoriously one of the worst Master Grades out there, so definitely a lot of improvements with this kit. So that just makes it a great kit right off the bat. It's a huge improvement. I'm sure people who are fans of the design are maybe hoping for a full-on 2.0. That doesn't seem likely now at this point, now that we've got this, and we've actually just got the announcement of another version of this coming out, the unicorn version of this also on the way as well. So it seems like Bandai is going to be utilizing this kind of 1.5 version of this maybe for a couple releases, and probably just gonna pass on doing a full-on 2.0. And it's a shame they're probably all going to be P-Bandai, but if you're a fan of the suits and you do want a newer version of this, I would say just spring for it. Just spend a little extra money to get this, because it's definitely a much better kit than the original, and so I think you'll be happy with the kit even if you had to pay a little bit more for it. So again, thanks to Samurai Buyer for sending me this kit to check out. I'll put the link to their site down below if you're interested in a Japanese proxy service for ordering stuff from Japan, like Premium Bandai stuff like this, and maybe if there's a Premium Bandai release that you missed when it first came out and you want to try to hunt it down there in Japan and order it through a proxy service, Samurai Buyer is an option that you could look into, so I'll put the link down below. Now let's get into talking about all the accessories and stuff that you get included here with the kit. Alright, so first thing is we have this beautiful sheet of waterside decals here, basically just a couple of little big logos and markings on there, a few other little caution markings, things like that, generic stuff as well. So really nice mix of markings for this in black, red, white, and yellow. Then we have two different action-based connectors for this. This is the action-based connector for when it's transformed into its waverider mode, and then the other action-based connector I have on there right now, because the kit it can stand on its own, but the backpack is really heavy. So when I've got it up on my rotating base there spinning around, just to make sure it didn't fall down, I put the action base up there underneath this, so that's being held in there. So you do have another action-based connector for just the regular connection up underneath the waist section there. And as for the hand options, it's just got the swappable finger hands that we've seen in a lot of recent Master Grades, like the Master Grade GM kits, the Master Grade Gym Sniper 2, and things like that. So there's just the extra finger options for that. It's got closed fists, as well as left and right open hands. And these holding hands, which are new specific for this kit because they're very big for holding the big giant beam saber handles that it's got up there on his backpack, not the regular ones. You do have the regular beam saber holding hands included in here, where they're listed as extra parts just because they're not really used for this kit. And a similar situation here with the trigger finger as well. So we have a new trigger finger set of fingers for this, because the finger is a little bit slightly different. We have the original set of left and right trigger fingers in here as well, but those again aren't used because if you look at the shape of them, they're just slightly different. So just for the rifle that this kit does have, you're not going to use the original. You got this new set that you'll use to go along with the rifle. So why don't we just take a look at that now. This is of course probably the most famous aspect of this kit, this AK looking beam rifle that this has. Personally, I'm not that, I mean, it's kind of cool, I guess. It's kind of interesting that it has this kind of style of beam rifle, but honestly, it's not like a really selling point for me. Honestly, I kind of would have preferred just kind of a normal style looking beam rifle, but it's interesting, it's unique anyway. So it's got a sticker there for the camera lens for that. Otherwise, just pretty nicely molded and detailed there. I mean, it looks cool. Has a little tab which will fold out here in the back of that. That's for plugging it on when it's in its transformed mode. The ammo clip is removable, but it's not really going to do anything. There's nothing really too much to do with that. You just can remove that if you like. And then we have the massive beam saber effect parts here. These are actually the beam saber effect parts that you would typically get with a 160 scale perfect grade kit, or something like the Master Grade Double Zeta Gundam, which also uses these giant beam saber handles. So these will be for these giant beam sabers here, which are stored up in his backpack. If you remove that out of there, just plug into there, and then you've got those specific cans for holding on to this giant beam saber. And then we've got the shield, which again, not really to my particular taste. I just don't really quite like how dome shaped the shield is for this. So it's kind of like, I really like the design of the mobile suit, and the backpack too especially is really cool looking. But the rifle and the shield personally are kind of like probably my least favorite parts of the kit, just in my personal opinion, but still, this is, anyway, there it's in the two-tone color, and you've got like the grenades up there on the inside, And here you've got the plug where this will plug onto the arm. That'll just pop out there, and then you've also got the handle which will fold down there as well. The handle can also rotate, so you can use that just on the arm. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bits of connectors which are used for the transformation in there as well. So I'll go over the transformation here in a bit. But first, let's go over some of the articulation. I want to remove the backpack first for a couple reasons, just so it's kind of out of the way. It's easier to show you guys the articulation of the main mobile suit, but also because the backpack does come off quite easily. These parts just fit into the back there. You just kind of pop it in and then it slots down into place. So like while I'm moving it, I'm sure I'm just accidentally going to knock that off a bunch of times. So I'm just going to go ahead and take off these parts straight away. The part there in the center stays on a little bit better, so we'll just keep on that there for now, for the time being. But anyway, focus on the head, which is entirely new for this kit, which is great because it's much better than the original mold. So once again, we've got foil stickers there for the head camera and the eyes, and around here on the back of the head as well, a little foil sticker for that also if you want to use that. The head articulation will go all the way up and very far up there. And I think that's just for the transformation actually, but still, it's pretty good articulation even if it's not for even if you're just using it for just posing, not for the transformation. So that's really nice. Head articulation upwards, down all the way to there. The cockpit hatch does open up. This whole part will lift up, and then this red part will lift out like that, and you can see our seated pilot figure. It's actually very visible up inside there for once, so that's kind of cool. We have a couple other stickers here. The black bits inside the vents on the front of the chest is also foil stickers, otherwise it's just a straight up yellow piece. Would have been nice if they would have made that as a separate piece to fit inside of there, kind of like with these vents or verniers here on the side of the shoulders and on the front of the waist section here. That the gray that you're seeing inside there is an actual gray piece, so it's actually color separated like that. So they did a really good job of that color separation on there. It's a shame they couldn't do that there on the chest as well, but easy enough to just fill that in with some black paint if you don't want to use the stickers. As for the torso articulation here, we can bend back all the way to there and then forward all the way to there, so not bad at all for the stomach crunch on that. We even have some side to side movement here, sideways to there and to there. And then of course rotation as well. So far neck and torso movement, very nice. Let's move on to the shoulders. The shoulder will swing forward about to there, and then you can move that upwards. Again, pretty much just for the transformation, but you can rotate the arm up very nice and far upwards as well, so that's good. Then the arm will rotate there at the top, and double joint in the elbow, give you a nice full bend there. Here on the back side of the arm, this little door will open up the door like that, and then this part will slide forward to point those missiles out a little bit like so. This gray part here for the wrist joint will also move up and down, so if you move that up, then you'll be able to get the door open up to its full extent. And then yeah, again with the push forward, you can see there's the missiles kind of poking out of there, not molded in a different color unfortunately, so just painting those up again would be a good idea to just add that nice color separation to those. Otherwise, aside from the up and down movement there at the base of the wrist itself is also on a hinge, so you can move that forward and back like so. The thumb has a ball joint at the base, and also the front digit of the thumb can also be bent. The fingers keeps wanting to pop out on me there, but you can bend the thumb a little bit like that there as well, and the wrist is just the main part of just on a ball joint there, so you can move that around and rotate that of course as usual. See, this is why completely fixed pose hands are the best way to go. Anyway, moving down to the skirt armor, again just really nice color separation on this. It looks really nice on these. The front skirts will move up all the way to there, so those will be up plenty out of the way. The side skirts, which are actually connected onto the side of the top of the leg, will move out like that, but they'll just kind of move along with the leg there. Unfortunately, they are going to be getting in the way from you being able to spread the legs very wide at all for any really dynamic aerial poses. So you're only going to be able to get those out to about there, and then I feel like they're going to be suffering maybe a little bit of weight issues as well. They seem like they're kind of holding a little bit. What we can see, that's the full extent, but when I let go of that, it will drop down a little bit like that, just because of the way it's not able to hold that full extent of that pose. So going around to the back here, the back skirt is all just one piece molded together, but that will move up and down. Some, again, nice color separation there with the little thruster bells. And this main part of the backpack anyway will rotate forward. That's again for the transformation, so we'll take a look more at that later. But aside from being side skirts, these are also kind of beam guns as far as I know, or beam cannons, so those will be able to point forward like that, which is pretty cool. The legs will be able to come forward, looks like to almost 90 degrees, not really all that far forward, but if we bend the leg and get that just up a little bit higher, You have a nice double joint here in the knee and separation of this knee armor, which is kind of goofy in the way that it's kind of sort of floating in there almost, but you have a nice separation there with that and a good knee bend. And a really nice mix of some new and some old parts here on the lower legs, but of course, again, the color separation is much improved on this with the really nice color details on that, and here on the back of the leg as well. There's kind of a lot more going on in here with the legs, but a lot of that is just for the transformation, so again, we'll just kind of ignore most of that for now. The foot will point all the way down like that. Up underneath the feet, some nice detail there. As for the ankle movement side to side, as you can imagine, it's a little bit hindered by this low hanging armor on the sides of the lower legs there, but you can still get a pretty good bend side to side there for the ankles, and the front of the foot is actually separate, so that'll move separately from the back half of the foot, so you have to rotate them both to keep the foot flat anyway. And of course, this flap on the front of the ankle will also move up and down like that as well, and it's kind of cool how this little part here on the front will move out of the way as you move that up. You have to kind of put it back down like that. I'll put one side of the backpack back on now for the moment just to point out the stickers. So here in the center of the backpack, this part is a sticker there. And then for these thruster bells here, the red ring around the outside of that is a red sticker that fits around the outside of this yellow part. And then here on the side, this little gold sticker there on the side of there as well. So you do have a few color correcting stickers, especially there on the backpack, but it's a kind of small amount. And again, they're all on the back side of the mole suit, so a little bit more forgivable. I think these could have been separate parts though. Maybe the red ring I can't understand, but these parts I think definitely could have been separate parts. So it's kind of a shame about that. But anyway, still the backpack does look really nice, I think. Also, these beam saber handles up here at the top can be rotated forward for if you just want to shoot them forward like that as beam cannons as they are, or if you want to pull that off and use it as a beam saber. Alright, now I transformed this guy and I want to show you the transformation, but I'm trying to get it onto this stand here, and the action base plugs onto where it's supposed to go, but it's just not holding it up. So that's just not going to work. I'll just have to show you by hand here. But anyway, it's one of the stupidest, most ridiculous looking transformations anyway. It's not even one of those ones like with the Wing Gundam where like as long as you look at it from the top, it doesn't look that bad. Even from the top, it doesn't look that great. And I really like the look of this backpack especially. It's one of my favorite parts about this kit. Just the color of that bright purple color for the backpack looks really cool. And just the design in general. The backpack is really cool, but still, this thing is just not looking cool transformed into its waverider mode at all. I mean, if you get this thing around and then like it's just got the shield on the underside of there, it's just kind of like strapped on around the front of his body there. It just doesn't look aerodynamic. It doesn't look cool at all. So yeah, it's a big pass on the transformation on this guy, but it can do it if you're so inclined. Well, so as I said, all the color separation and improved articulation is a vast improvement over the original kit. One thing is still just getting in the way, and it's really kind of annoying, and it's that hip articulation that you can't get the legs out to the side very well. So you'll see in some of the posing here as we wrap up the review that I'm just really having trouble getting it into some really cool poses. I mean, there's some cool poses that you can do for sure, and I think it looks great just standing there, honestly, so you don't really particularly need to get it into any dynamic poses. And while so much of the articulation I think is improved and like is totally fine as a master grade, it's just the inability to make the legs any wider spread in action poses. So I think you could maybe utilize that if you wanted to kind of like trick it a little bit by having it like having the legs, the hips partially transformed. I'm not sure how well that would work over time, because I think you would obviously have some weight issues with that, so you'd have to kind of like modify that or something in order for it to really work long term. But I'm finding that particular point of articulation to be very hindering in terms of getting it into any really cool poses, but I'm doing my best here with these. Overall though, I think this kit does still look good, and again, just so much better than the original. I don't want to keep going back to that same point of comparing it to the original, but I think that is definitely one of the things that is kind of the most exciting about this, just for people who are fans of the design. How much of an improvement this is. It's just leaps and bounds better. But if we were to just pretend that there was never a 1.0 of this and just focusing on this kit in particular, as it is as a master grade, I mean, like I said in the very beginning of the review, it doesn't feel like you're building a modern master grade, but it doesn't feel like you're building a 20-year-old master grade. It feels 10 years old, let's say, something like that anyway. So where it's really good, it's got a lot of good points in there, but it has a couple of bad points that are just still not quite totally figured out yet. So it's not perfect by any means. Is it still a fun Master Grade and a cool Master Grade, a cool looking Master Grade? Definitely, I think so. So that is, I think, going to be the biggest selling point of this, is just how cool it looks and just very colorful design, if you like that. Personally, maybe a little bit too colorful for me. Like I said, I do really like the yellow accents. I love the purple on there, but just the overall color scheme is a little bit too much for me. So ultimately, when I get around to painting this, I won't be painting in the original colors. But it's kind of interesting that the upcoming unicorn version of this is a much more muted color scheme. So it's kind of a very stark contrast to this one, how colorful this one is. But I guess that just kind of is how it goes. Unicorn compared to Zeta, Double Zeta era stuff is just kind of typically like that. So that is it for the review, guys. Pretty cool kit. If you do still have any other further questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below, of course. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.